The last time we talked about these rocks, I said I thought this one would make a nice cabochon. And I think I was right. It's finally time to take a look at how the rocks from Sugar Hollow turned out. There's something exceptionally satisfying about seeing a rock and then seeing what it looks like polished. I love how the green here is almost electric. You might recall the video where I cut this one in half. I cut it down a bit further for tumbling, and the final results were excellent. They took on a great shine, and they have a cool, Earth from outer space kind of vibe to them. You can almost see land masses and islands in a blue ocean. I wish I knew how to make spheres from rocks, because the rocks from this area would make perfect spheres. Let's take a look at this piece of quartz that I wiggled out of the ground. Here's how it looked after a bit of cleaning. Here's how it looked wet before I put it in the tumbler. And here is how it looked after a good tumble. We have this itty-bitty spot here of red, but for the most part we're looking at some nice milky quartz with some epidote. I spent a lot of time thinking about this one throughout this process. I wasn't sure how deep the epidote went, and I didn't want to wind up with just a nice piece of tumbled milky quartz, so I had to decide when I was happy with the shape. Normally, I would have preferred something a bit more rounded and smooth throughout, but I decided in this case I would move it along a little bit earlier just to ensure that epidote stayed around. There are a couple more pieces that were primarily quartz. I like the gradient of the green in both of these. Here's another one that I cut in half. Let's take a look at the half that has finished tumbling. Those spots of epidote that you could see in the blue when I first cut this in half look even better now that it's polished. This other side turned out to have more quartz under the blue than I realized. I think it might actually look a little bit better if I were to grind out the quartz and then polish all this up, but I like the idea of getting a good cross-section of what you can actually find in an area for my collection. So I'll probably leave this one as it is. Some of these polished up with a really neat blue and green cheetah print look to them. Unfortunately, I can't tell which rough piece they match up with from all the footage I have saved. These small slices of epidote that I threw in came out perfect. You can see the nice, even shine on all of them. These came off of a single big block. I'll definitely have to slice off more from it so that I can make some cabochons. And then here we have a bit of epidote with a neat little vein of white quartz running through it. Plenty of these rocks had a neat mix of white milky quartz, epidote, and blue that created really cool patterns. The white really makes the colors pop. Look at those cute little speckles of color. I'm a bit surprised these all turned out so well. Often when you have a mix of materials, they'll have different hardnesses, so quartz is typically harder than epidote, which can create undercutting. There were some duds. This rock's color caught my eye. It came out all right, I guess, but it was too porous to take on a proper shine. This one looked so promising, so I might try redoing it with a softer batch of rocks. I really thought that the mustard color portions on these next couple rocks would undercut severely, or at least not take on a great shine, but they actually turned out pretty nice. Based on how this rock face felt after cutting it, I was pretty sure that the fine grains would polish well. That's always a bit of a gamble. Sometimes a fine grain pattern can be slightly porous material, but it worked out well here. This one is a bit of a mystery. I don't recall anything having this arrangement of color when I put it in the tumbler, but I really like the way it turned out. I can't decide if I've matched up this rough piece correctly with the polished one, but I love the shade on the polished one. The red jasper spots really make it pop. I was anxious to see how this blue metabasalt with red splotches would turn out. I was so happy to see that it took on a nice even shine. This one must have just been too grainy in spots. It didn't take on the best shine. It's not particularly even. But some of the others with large areas of red or jasper did come out quite nice. The red sometimes added a neat little speckle to the rocks. And other times it paired really well with quartz. I think once you see something in a rock once, you might just start seeing it constantly, because I'm getting antique map vibes again. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Overall, I'm really pleased with just how much variety I got out of a pretty small batch of rocks from the area around Sugar Hollow. Some of my favorites are going in a little bowl on my desk at work as a conversation piece.